An NBA insider projects major moves for this Miami Heat organization as the NBA season gets closer and closer by the day. I'm here to break down a bombshell of a quote from NBA insider Zach Lowe and his overall opinions on this Miami Heat roster and how the lineup may end up looking once the NBA season officially gets here. We'll break down all of that, as well as how Erik Spoelstra is going to have his hands full this NBA season with an array of talent on this Heat roster, all on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, please do remember, scroll down and click the subscribe button if you're a part of the near 90% watching this video not currently subscribed to the channel. We do appreciate the love and support, so thank you guys. But now let's get to it and break down the big lineup questions for Miami. Now, this offseason, you have heard me say it a bunch on this channel in the past on how this Miami Heat offseason was really underrated up to this point because of the acquisitions the Heat were able to go out there and acquire, as well as maintaining some of the big names from last season. We know how last season went in the sense that there was a lot of hope and optimism surrounding this Heat team once the season started, but once the Jimmy Butler saga really took place, everything crumbled relatively quickly. But in the mix of the Jimmy Butler situation, he obviously went to Golden State, and in return, Andrew Wiggins landed in Miami. Now, he only got to play a half a season for this Heat team, which we know is damn near impossible to do, especially at a high level for a championship level team. Now, he has gone through that half season. He has now gone through an entire offseason with this Heat organization and is walking into his first full-length season with this Miami Heat organization, which could be best for both sides of this equation. As we know, Andrew Wiggins is a very, very good athletic wing who can do things very well on both the offense as well as the defensive side of the basketball. And with that, the new additions of Norman Powell, obviously Kellan Ware, having another year under his belt, learning from players like Udonis Haslem, who are still involved in the Miami Heat coaching staff, as well as Bam Adebayo, someone who he's playing next to every single day, not only through last season, but now going into this up-and-coming regular season. It seems like Kellan Ware may be at the starting center position next to Bam Adebayo, who is at the position, the power forward. It doesn't end there. Simon Tecchio was obviously brought in from the Detroit Pistons in that sign and trade for Duncan Robinson. Another very valuable piece to put on the wing for this Heat organization. Another good piece of talent that is really just going to add to the depth this Miami Heat team has. Along with that, obviously the final name we're going to address in this entire situation is Davion Mitchell, a young guard that was brought in last season in that Jimmy Butler trade, and he really made good the second he landed in Miami. The brand of basketball he plays, how hard he plays every single time he touches the court. Miami knew this was a match made in heaven. They quickly, the second the offseason started, gave him a 2-year, $24 million deal for him to be in Miami. And I think by the time this deal comes to an end, he will be getting another contract extension because of the young youth that he does maintain, as well as the game that he really has and plays time in and time on the court. So with all that being said, in this great collection of talent the Miami Heat have at their disposal, with Erik Spoelstra still at the helm, who we know is not shy to be creative when it comes to putting out starting lineups, in different starting lineups at that, regardless of whether or not it's game 1 or game 82 of the NBA regular season or any bit into the playoffs. As last year, the Miami Heat were, if not one, they were 2 in different starting lineups used in the regular season, only behind, if not sharing the number 1 position with the Washington Wizards. I don't know the number off the top of my head. It was actually very hard to kind of look around and find because the exact number is not anywhere. If you can look through the Basketball Reference and go through to the different lineups, but it's well over 30 in just an 82-game regular season. That is drastic. And with someone like Erik Spoelstra at the helm, yes, it can be a very good thing because it can work throwing out different schematic lineups against different situations, and teams that may game plan to see one lineup or another will see something totally different, which again can give the Miami Heat an upper hand. But with that being said, when it's being done in hopes to make things work because Jimmy Butler's on the way out, you have multiple injuries that have sidelined key players for significant amounts of time, it can be problematic. But now with the problem of having too much talent at specific positions, like the small forward position with Wiggins, Norman Powell, Jaquez, Jovic, all of these guys that have the ability to play the 3 or the 4 or even move up to the 2, there's a lot of diversity. There is a lot of ability for this Heat team that's going to allow them to be very creative and go out there and put their best foot forward in a multitude of different ways. Now, Zach Lowe is the guy that we're going to reference because he went out there on his podcast, the Zach Lowe podcast. If you go to this tweet and click on the YouTube link, it'll take you to the podcast that we are referencing, the episode specifically that we are referencing, where we got this quote from him speaking about this Miami Heat organization and really what to expect from the starting lineup once the season actually does roll around, where he says, quote, "I would consider starting Norman Powell, Tyler Hero, Andrew Wiggins, Nikola Jovic, and Bam Adebayo. I'm not sure that double big look with Kel'el Ware is the way I want to go to start out this year. I'd start Jovic over Ware and then figure out the guard position." And that is the end of the quote from Zach Lowe, a very respectable mind when it comes to the game of basketball, especially on the professional level. And he does have a good point here. Do you want to go exert all of, and it quotes around the sense of all of your big men? Bam Adebayo has been the 5 for this Miami Heat team for the last 6, 7, 8 years now. Now going out and getting someone in Kel'el Ware. Yes, it was now 2 years ago in the NBA draft. But the idea is the same. We needed a big. Yes, we had Whiteside, you had Birdman, you had all these guys throughout the years, but they were complementary guys. You never had that one dominant figure. Yes, Hassan Whiteside had a stretch of time where he was a very dominant center and was able to do a lot on both sides of the floor, but who was the backup? Who was the guy playing next to him? In this case, with this Miami Heat team and the way it is currently constructed, it is very, very different from what we have seen in the past. Whether you want to go back to the LeBron and D. Wade and Chris Bosh era with the big three in the early 2010s, or if any tenure or year in between. It feels like this is very different and very unique for the Miami Heat, not only because of the surplus of talent they have, and again, not having the LeBron James level player, but having very good complementary guys like Norman Powell, like Andrew Wiggins, someone in Tyler Hero, who we've seen take leap after leap after leap, year after year, and just really growing and diversifying his game, going from a slashing or a spot-up scoring guard to being more of a slasher with the ability to knock down an open three, whether it's off the dribble or in catch-and-shoot situations, to then last year being a scorer, a flat-out scorer at all three levels, while also enhancing his ability to facilitate the basketball. This is great for the Miami Heat, but now with Kel'el Ware and with Bam Adebayo being able to move back to his natural position of the power forward spot, wouldn't it be nice to have a very daunting lineup with major size in the front court, in the front court, with someone like Ware and Bam Adebayo playing alongside one another, and then obviously having even more size next to them with someone like Andrew Wiggins and Norman Powell rounding out the 3 and the 2 spot? It would be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Erik Spoelstra, we all mentioned it earlier, he is very creative. He has the ability to go out there and put things together, and he's not going to be scared to do so. He knows, Pat Riley knows, Mickey Arison knows, the entire Heat organization knows they can put some trust into Erik Spoelstra and really give him the keys to go out there and work things out schematically until he finds something that works. Now, whether or not this all starts with Kel'el Ware in the starting lineup or not, I am going to say that my opinion, my overall thought process is that we will see Bam and Kel'el Ware starting next to one another to start this NBA season. Will it be an 82-game thing that we see? I will vote absolutely not. And that's not just because injuries happen, all these natural things where players have to miss games happens. That's not what I'm saying. Even if they were both 100% healthy, guaranteed from game 1 to game 82, I believe Erik Spoelstra would go with Jovic or even downsize and allow someone like Andrew Wiggins to play the power forward, or even Simon Fontecchio to play the power forward position and run a bit of a smaller lineup with more really the ability to stretch the floor. Yes, Kel'el can knock down the 3. Bam Adebayo, we've seen progress his 3-point shot and really his perimeter shot. So it seems like whichever direction they decide to go, it feels like they're going to have a universal 5-man if they choose to go small. And that would be in the sense that Bam would be playing the 5 or Ware would be playing the 5, and the 1 through 4 surrounding them would be any of the combination of players that wouldn't include one of the other bigs. It seems complicated, but in reality, in the moral of the story, the Heat are going to have a great option of depth. They're going to have a surplus of talent from 1 through 5 for this starting lineup, bearing major injuries. And I think the Heat are in a great position to go out there and play really competitive and winning basketball. We broke down their overall win over-under on their wins and losses for this up-and-coming season about a month and a half ago. It was set at 37.5, and I told you guys this was a disrespectful line, and it should be exponentially higher. Just now, or now today, September 16th, again, a month and some change past that last video, it is now sitting at 39.5, so 40-win season for this Miami Heat team for the over and under on the wins and loss sides of things from the sportsbook. And it doesn't end there. The disrespect continues. If you look at the Southeast Division ratings and the odds on to win, the Heat find themselves in the third spot on the majority of sportsbooks, where they find themselves behind the Hawks and the Orlando Magic at plus 1,100 to or plus 1,000 to plus 1,400, anywhere in between on any sportsbook that you can really you bet on legally in your state. So it's interesting to see how this all plays out. I think Miami is in a great spot in the sense that they have a lot of options. They have a lot of depth, and they have a lot of really diversity and abilities to go in different directions with the collection of talent they have. Let me know down below your overall thoughts and opinions and what your starting lineup would be if you were Eric Spoelstra for this Miami Heat team. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.